and you can quote this on me. There is no way the Orioles or Red Sox make the playoffs this season. Yeah, yeah. There's no way. There's no way.
I set the bar really low at the NBA predictions.
I don't think all Mavs fans look into the stats like I do.
It's not the great value Target brand toilet paper or whatever. It's the Charmin Ultra Strong.
I don't know if Nick Nurse is the coach for the Raptors. I don't know if he's the reason why they won the 2019 championship. I feel like that was more of a team effort.
The Mavs cannot say we do not miss Seth Curry shooting threes.
This questions the firing of Dwayne Casey, who I think is a very underrated coach.
To me, the Capitals really pushed all their chips for this season.
Hello, I'm Mike Grimes, and you've been listening to Outsiders Opinions with Kevin and Austin.
What's up, y'all? Welcome to our MLB Opinions of the Week. Free agency is now basically over. Like, Bregman just signed with the Red Sox, but Anthony Rizzo is still on the market. And the man that is familiar with Anthony Rizzo, Austin.
Yeah. This is just a primer before spring training starts. It's a pre-spring training video. As this is posted, spring training will be starting. It'll be the Dodgers-Cubs is the only game, I believe, on Thursday when this is getting, like I said, posted. But there's a couple little headlines I want to start with. Have you heard the news regarding Rafael Devers?
Yeah, so which I was also wanting to talk about that. Is it because they signed Bregman, which I don't did you bring this up in a video? You could see him moving to first base, but Devers I think doesn't want to move to first base.
Yeah, he's arguably, if not the close to the worst fielding third baseman that plays as many games as he does. The Red Sox were the second worst team fielding-wise last year. Kevin, do you want to guess the worst team last year in fielding percentage?
Worst in fielding.
Boston was second worst. Who was worst?
Boston. I might go Rangers.
It was the Marlins. The Miami Marlins were the worst fielding team in baseball last year. Second worst was Boston, and that's something you have to change. I mean, the Yankees, I remember a couple of years ago, weren't the best fielding team, but they've really migrated into becoming a great fielding team. And the rest of the division, I mean, Tampa has good fielders. Same thing with Toronto now. They have some good fielders. And same thing, obviously, with the Orioles as well. But the Red Sox have had not just mediocre, but extremely poor fielding numbers. If you're the skipper, if you're the manager of this team, Kevin, how do you go about trying to migrate Devers to DH? I think his best course of action is to go to DH, but throughout all the interviews we've seen, he does not want to move. But I'd rather play Bregman at third than second if you're going to have Devers in the field still. Now, if you had like Arenado on the team, yeah, I'd get moving Bregman to second, but you don't have that. So I'd rather Bregman play third and Devers go to DH or first base, and probably DH at least at the beginning of this season because he hasn't had time to learn first base. But what are your thoughts on how you would get him to switch positions?
Yeah, I think you could. I think kind of if you want to be competitive, which the Red Sox are a team that wants to be competitive, and you mentioned the fielding, I think you would kind of be strict with him, like, hey, the fielding needs to get better. Either you fix that throughout this season and show me you're improving on it, then you can be at third. But if not, then you're going to be at DH.
How quick is that move made? At what point does he have to show that improvement? Is it one bad game, or is it we're looking at April, or are we looking at just through spring training if he makes better fielding? Or what?
I would say in the first few months. Like, I think in the first few months, you're like, well, I think you'd be nice to him. Go,
by what? By when?
So, okay, April, May, probably by June. Yeah. Because I would do it like, okay, we'll start you opening day, but then Bregman would get a lot of the first starts at third base to start the season while you get Bregman or while you get Devers learning and putting in, because it's not going to be fixed in a month. But I think as long as it's better, so over the next 3 months he gets better, then maybe you can put Bregman at second. But that way you're kind of easing him into not being a third baseman.
Somebody else say this, and I do have this question regarding a lot of athletes, because I think, you know me, I'm championship or bust always. I'll do whatever it is required for the team to win. But a question that this individual wanted to be asked of Devers is, hey, if you were guaranteed a championship, would you move to DH? Because he really does not want to move. But if the price of winning a championship is moving to DH, would he do it? I would find it hard to believe he'd say no, but at this point, I don't really understand what his end goal is. I mean, I know you'd want to stay at your position, but at the end of the day, you're a better hitter than you are a fielder. You add all of your value basically with the bat. So I don't understand why he wouldn't be comfortable moving to a DH position that he'd have no.
Yeah, I think it's a pride thing. But yeah, no, I definitely understand. And that's where I think you kind of approach it to, like, I want the best fielder at third base, and Bregman's better than you right now. So until you get somewhat better, until you get somewhat close to what Bregman is, then you're not going to start there. But it is, I kind of, if you have one more thing to say, but I am very curious about, like, Bregman playing second and just kind of what the Astros are doing with Altuve. But do you have any final thoughts on Devers?
Boston's going to be a good team this year if he does decide to move or if he becomes a better fielder. They definitely have been a organization that's struggled in recent years, but I really like the basis of their team. The problem is they just have to get better fielding wise. So if Devers can move, I think they have a good chance. But
yeah,
it's going to be a hard thing for Alex Cora to control, because if he's mad, then when one of your star players is mad, I think it kind of feeds the locker room negative energy, and something that can affect how your team plays early on in the season.
Absolutely, and given that Devers is like, he is the longest tenured Red Sox.
Definitely.
So
I think he's the only player that's still on the roster since the championship in 2018.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that kind of definitely just goes to his kind of gravity that he has in the locker room. But I'm shocked Bregman would be open to second. Well, of course he's open, but he's, I think, a good third baseman. So I'm surprised it took him this long.
Sorry to interrupt, but have you heard the news with Altuve?
Altuve, yeah, they're moving to left. Like, they want to put him at left.
I don't know
field.
if he's moving to left field, but he is taking practice. He's practicing in left field.
Yeah, that's weird. I don't know why.
I could see him moving there. I mean, it's not a position where you have to have immensely tough arm strength. Your weakest arm is usually in left because he's not going to have to throw to third. So I get it. I mean, it's definitely the easiest position to switch to for a player of his stature, but I find it crazy because his output above average, it is below average, it is, but Devers is like the worst third baseman fielder. So the fact that Altuve is willing to move and Devers isn't, I just find it to be a little bit weird.
But yeah, no, I brought that up because they traded for Isaac Paredes. The Astros did for Isaac Paredes. He was going to be third. Then they're like, we'll put Bregman at second if he wants to come back. Then he's working in the left field, and I'm just surprised they're moving him. But you mentioned he struggled from the field, because I thought, didn't he win a Gold Glove at one point?
He did. He did. The problem is his arm strength, honestly. He does, as you get older, you get weaker. And he's never been someone that's necessarily had a strong arm. So as you continue to get older, I mean, I'll look at his defensive stats last year. His D-WAR was negative 0.9. He did win a Gold Glove once back in 2015. Okay. He has not won a Gold Glove since 2015, but you are right, he did win one. If we're looking at like his outs above average, give me 1 second.
All right. Okay. I thought it was more recent, but
if we're looking like DRS, defensive run saved, he's in the negatives, but it's not like Devers level negative. Like, he's still, you can play him there and be okay. The problem is it's just below average. Like, you're not going to get stellar plays from him, but it's not going to lose you games. How bad Boston's defense was losing them games, legitimately. I mean, I remember some of those Twins games at the end of the year where they could have made the playoffs if they ended up winning some of those games, and they couldn't because they could not field. They had many errors in the field, and that just gave the Twins and other teams they played at the end of the season runs. And Boston already was not the best when it came to offense, but when you supplement that by terrible defense, I mean, it becomes impossible to climb out of.
Yeah, so that's something to where I understand it. After explaining and like learning, just he wasn't that great of a defender at second base. It makes sense, but I was just surprised that was happening because like I kind of view as like Devers as well. Like he's with the Astros in like a leader in the locker room, I would say, or at least a prominent player in the locker room, and he's moving to left field. I'm very interested in what the Astros do. I do think they're on the decline. We talked about after that playoff series. I think Isaac Paredes is good, but of course they have Yordan Alvarez, but they're no longer this powerhouse. I think the AL West is wide open. Even the Athletics, they extended Brent Rooker.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's done well for them. I'm curious with the Rangers. I'm very excited for Jacob deGrom, but the thing I'm most excited for probably is Wyatt Langford in his second year, and then Evan Carter. And then, of course, you got deGrom. But I think they have a lot of guys, but the Rangers do have some risk as well, like deGrom, Kumar Rocker. They're so unsure about Jack Leiter, Evan Carter as well.
I'm not ready to call the Astros done. I really do like Paredes, especially he's a very strong pull hitter. Almost all of his home runs are pulled, and who has the basically shortest left field in baseball?
Yeah,
the Astros. So I mean, it works out. I understand why they signed him. It really does fit their scheme. He's a solid fielder. He's not a bad fielder, and he's only 26. I mean, he's not an old player. He was an All-Star last year. In the season before last, he hit 31 homers. So I do think they have some good players, and I think if Altuve is a better left fielder than he is a second baseman, and they get some positivity there, then I think they could still be good. I mean, I do believe, like you mentioned, that the AL West is wide open, but I'm not ready to call the Astros necessarily done contending in this division or in the AL.
Yeah, we'll have to see. And I don't know. It's just they're not. They're not going to be the team they were. Whereas, like, you could expect them to win that division.
Sure, but I can also say that's probably because some of the teams in the division are better than past years. I really think the Mariners. I mean, I think last year we really didn't like the Mariners, and that was because of how many of the moves they made. Now we're starting to see them make different moves that I think I like a little bit more. It's going to depend on how their hitting goes, but there's going to be a lot of teams that are riding the line of mediocrity. But if you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. I think the past couple of postseasons has proved that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have to see. But yeah, I'm interested in what they do because it's going to be a lot of different roster. They still have great pitching, except Verlander.
Verlander's with the Giants.
Yeah, he signed with the Giants, which I think you and I are always a big fan of what the Giants do.
I can see them being good again this year. I've been trying to predict last year was just injuries. They had a lot of injuries last year, and I think this year they're going to have Verlander. I think Verlander should have a bounce-back season, even if he doesn't go back to his prime. But they've also signed a lot of big guys. So, and I think Robbie Ray finally is going to come back from injury and hopefully be 100%. So if they can get not necessarily prime, but a solid version of Robbie Ray, they should have good pitching. And they obviously still have Logan Webb and all that. So I'm excited to see how it works out, but there's still a lot of time. Spring training is going to be interesting. I always like looking, but again, we mentioned this many years before, always when we're talking about spring training. It's not the end-all be-all. Record doesn't really matter. It's more you want to see improvement from the players you need to see improvement from, and you want to see consistency from the guys that are maybe a little bit older to see if they're declining. But I'm excited for spring, and baseball's right around the corner.
Yeah, it really is. And another thing is kind of the Diamondbacks. They went and signed Corbin Burns, which I think you can maybe expect maybe a bounce back year from Jordan Montgomery. I'm not saying frontline starter, but they don't need him to be a frontline starter. They have Zach Gallen. You now have Corbin Burns. Then Jordan Montgomery. I know I'm forgetting the guy that almost pitched a no-hitter against the Rangers in Game 2 of the World Series. Merrill Kelly.
Yeah.
So I really like that. They got a lot of young guys. I'm very interested to see what they do. But yeah, I think it should be a really fun season. I forgot the Astros signed Christian, why am I forgetting his last name? Christian Walker. It's a 3-year deal. It does fill that spot. Hopefully it's not as bad as the Abreu contract was for him, because that was a big move that they made, signing him 2 years ago, and then he's no longer on the team. They ate that salary. I just never expected that to happen. I was like, oh my gosh, they got Abreu, but that did not work out for them.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see. I mean, again, spring's I think going to be telling for a lot of people, especially like with the Yankees with some of the older guys they have. But it's really going to come to show how the beginning of the year will start, and then the season's right around the corner. I mean, when spring training comes, I mean, you can smell opening day.
Yeah, I'm Yankees too. I forgot they have Max Fried. Oh, and they also have
Paul Goldschmidt.
Devin Williams. Well, yeah, and Devin Williams, Paul Goldschmidt.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see what happens, but that is all I have. I'll let you close this one out.
Yeah, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know what you guys are excited for in spring training and how you feel about your team. Thank you again.